Hello. So this is my official The Flash movie review because it needed to come. And this is actually going to be a very shocking, surprising review. I was shocked and surprised myself while watching the movie. So stay tuned, listen to the whole review. I'm going to take you through the movie from start to finish as I watched it and my thoughts as I watched it and then reflected on what I had just seen. Before I get started with that, I want to say thank you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for coming back if you are a repeat offender. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like, and comment. Positive feedbacks and comments, always welcome. If you want to listen to my podcast when I upload them and not have to wait for the premiere dates, you can jump to the front page of my YouTube channel, click on that link, subscribe to Spotify. It's 99 cents a month. You can do that if you would like. If not, you can just wait for the premiere dates on YouTube. So I wanted to upload this. I didn't want to wait too much longer to do this review of the Flash movie. Only because it's been out for a minute. It's actually about to hit the streaming services, so I just wanted to get it done out the way. Well, not done out the way, but I wanted to get it done and not, be months and months and months, down the line before I actually uploaded and posted this review of this movie. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the movie as I was watching it, and my opinions of the movie did actually change drastically as I watched it. So you need to hold on and listen to the end because it's quite a roller coaster, right? So this is my recap, my review, and my opinion. Well, I guess that's what a review is, right? Of the movie as I am watching it. Okay, so here we go. So I guess the most surprising thing to me before we get into my thoughts as I'm watching the movie is I don't hate this movie. And that's surprising for me because up till now, I thought that I would hate this movie. Or up till now, at least, I hated the idea of a Flash movie in the DCEU starring Ezra Miller, right? And that kind of mindset, I was stuck in that mindset this entire time. I mean, the entire time for years, for years. So it's surprising to me that I'm actually coming out of this or starting this movie and I'm like, you know what? I don't actually hate this. But okay, so let's get into it. So this Barry Allen or this DCEU Ezra Miller, I haven't figured out if I'm calling it a DCEU Flash or Ezra Miller Flash or Ezra Miller Barry Allen or DCEU Barry Allen. So I'll just, jump back and forth. And you need to know, like, if you're watching this and you're like, well, what is the difference? It doesn't matter. You're not familiar with Flash content. It does matter because I jump back and forth talking about the DCEU Flash, Ezra Miller Flash, Grant Gustin Flash, CW Flash, comic book Flash, So it matters which Flash or which version of the Flash or, whose adaptation of the Flash we're talking about, right? So now this Barry Allen is more erotic. This DCEU Ezra Miller Barry Allen is more erratic and neurotic than I was expecting his Barry Allen to be. But I will say that this is Ezra Miller's Barry Allen and this is the Barry Allen that they wanted to portray, so it works for him. Now, the other thing that jumped out at me as I was watching the opening scenes of this movie is that the CGI doesn't irritate me in this movie like in every other DCEU film that I have seen. The running and super speed looks exactly how I expected it to look, which is perfectly fine, sir. There are literally no complaints when it comes to the CGI of this DCEU film, and that's like I said, it's rare that I don't have CGI complaints with DCEU movies. Now, so we move on. The film starts with the Flash getting a call from Alfred because Batman is tied up or something along those lines, and Barry has to take care of whatever the catastrophe or disaster is. But then Batman shows up and they both save the day. The thing I don't like about the DCEU Barry is how childish she is. I don't know exactly how old Barry is in this film, but I'm pretty sure he isn't 5 years old. And his super adolescent way of talking and acting doesn't come off to me as nerdy or erratic. It comes off more like a kid trapped in an adult's body, and I'm not a fan of that. I have made no secret about the fact that I prefer CW's Grant Gustin's Barry Allen more, and this movie so far has solidified that for me, because the CW Barry Allen is a grown adult who acts like a grown adult and has responsibilities in the real world, like a real job, like a real adult. So I'm not a fan of this like super adolescent Barry. But with that being said, Ezra's Barry is far more like far more entertaining. I don't want to say it. I'm shocked. Like I said in the beginning of this, I'm shocked at how entertained I am with Ezra Miller's Barry Allen thus far in this film, because I did not think that would be the case. I get it. DC wanted him to be, so DC wanted, I mean, we know from like his appearances in Justice League, but we know in some other films, but we know that this version of Barry Allen that the DCEU wanted, they wanted him to be more comedic, right? But the problem with this version of Barry is that Ezra is not comedic. To be honest, I've said this before, and even the Justice League cast have said it during interviews, because they always ask, actors and stuff like what character, or how are you like your character, and things like this. And basically Ezra Miller is Barry Allen in this version of the Flash. Like, everyone has agreed that Ezra is most like his character. If you watch any interview with Ezra Miller, you will see that he basically isn't acting in this role. It's almost like the writers of this film were told that without a doubt Ezra is getting this film, so whoever you need the character, or however you need the character to fit him, as opposed to hiring an actor to play Barry, make it happen. And that's kind of how it happened. And so what we got was Ezra Miller in a costume in a movie. I hope that makes sense, because it's the best way I can describe Ezra as Barry Allen / Flash. Okay, back to the movie. The first 10 minutes of this movie is literally all action. It seemed to me that they wanted to take the Aquaman approach to this movie and have as little as possible, as little dialogue as possible, and focus as much as they could on just the action. The Looney Tunes Warner Brothers feel to Barry saving the baby scene was totally unnecessary. And yes, if you heard a lot about this baby saving scene and wonder why it's been so much talk about this baby saving scene, once you see it, you will know why. Absolutely ridiculous, but it happened. Anyway, that's the first 10-15 minutes of the movie. So it's basically Barry being Ezra, comedy that falls entirely flat. Barry being upset with Alfred, and the Flash saving a row of babies, and Ben Affleck showing up to be seen on his bat motorcycle talking weird, and then Wonder Woman shows up and helps Batman save the day on a bridge, and Barry makes a joke about knowing what sex is or not knowing what sex is. And again, the comedy falls flat. So, yep, that's the first 15 minutes of this film. No joke. Okay, so the introduction of Iris West was a bit awkward and abrupt, I guess. But the thing about it is, Iris, to me, in that opening scene with Iris and Barry, and her approaching him, she came off like an antagonist bitch to me. And that's crazy, because Iris is Barry's meant to be. I don't think they meant for that scene to come off the way that it did. Basically, Iris West approaches Barry to inquire about his father's guilt, which seems very Lois Lane-ish, and I just didn't like her introduction into the movie. I really liked the Flash. I really liked the be careful how I say this. I really liked the flashback of Barry and his family. Those scenes were cute to me. Up until the murder, but those flashbacks were really cute. I really like, for whatever reason, I know haters are coming, but I like that his mother was Hispanic and they incorporated that in the it just gave it a little bit of flavor. Okay, so I liked it. It wasn't until the flashback scene where Barry's mom gets killed that I really started to find the movie entertaining. I'm not really into pointless action sequences, so the first 15 minutes of the movie really did nothing for me. I can honestly say I am enjoying Ezra's acting way better when he isn't throwing in pointless, non-funny humor for no reason. And he's not trying so hard to be nerdy, because Ezra's version of nerdy just comes off insanely fake to me, and again, very childish. And when we get Barry trying to run back to the present and get stuck in the Speed Force, I presume that's the Speed Force, and then the babies, it's more babies. What's with the babies? Surprisingly enough, I think when Ezra, like I said, when I started, at the start of the podcast, when he's being more like a normal human, with when he's being, okay, so I'm watching the movie and trying to commentate on it at the same time. Hold on. Okay, so what I was trying to say is when Ezra started, because he does start to be more like a normal human in the movie, and when he starts to just be normal, and act like just a normal person with shit going on, a person who has super speed, with all this crap going on in his life, as opposed to an unfunny, erratic mess, that comes off way better. I love the scene with him and Bruce and how they use that to explain Barry's ability to travel to the past. So I love that. I like that. That was a very good way to introduce the Speed Force. It was very well done. And then Iris shows up weirdly, because apparently she is stalking him, but not because she wants. She's stalking. I don't know. She seems like a stalker. She shows up at night and she wants to talk about Barry's father. No. I'm sorry. She shows up. She finds Barry, but she doesn't want to talk about his father. Sure, Jan. Okay, yeah, I believe that. And back to the humorless comedy. Sigh. Okay, so in the scene, Barry explains his whole plan to Iris to go back to the past and save his parents. I genuinely think that scene could have been better played with Barry talking to himself, talking his plan out to himself, because no one knows Barry is the Flash, and he just told Iris everything, which I get she still won't understand because it all sounds very crazy, but still it is clear that the only reason she randomly pops out of nowhere at night and Barry weirdly invites her upstairs and she again asks about his father is to set him up figuring out how he's going to get back to the past, or that plan to get back to the past. But she was inserted into that scene in such a weird way that I don't think it played well. Or maybe they should have had a friend be the one he, reaches that epiphany with, instead of a chick he has seen for 2 seconds twice recently because he has a crush on her. That just seemed like an odd way to insert her into the movie. And then Barry does go back in the past, and then more babies. What is with the babies in this movie? And of course, the comedy Barry comes out when Barry meets Barry, and I'm just so over the comedy. So when Barry meets Barry, and then of course that's the whole comedic thing. You know what? Did Warner Brothers learn nothing from Thor: Love and Thunder? Like, we're over the comedy, the corny comedy in superhero movies. Okay. Oh my God. So, in my opinion, this movie just went up 100 points, because I'm just going on and on about how much I hate the comedy. But the writers of this movie, like, 100% knew how annoying they made Barry in this movie, and they threw in present Barry. So we'll call Barry, or Barry from who's the protagonist in the movie, who travels back in time and meets his younger self. We'll call that Barry present Barry. But the writers threw in present Barry, saying how annoying past Barry's personality is, and that is exactly how I felt up to now. And you can see the difference now in present Barry's personality, and it is so much more bearable than past Barry's personality. Like, present Barry's new personality is a Barry I can tolerate for the rest of this movie. I really think this movie could have been great had they not done the dumb comedy. I know I keep saying it, but the scenes where present Barry takes past Barry to Star Labs to get his powers is so good. But again, with the dumb comedy, that's so unnecessary. I'm generally liking this movie so far. It is so far the most entertaining DCEU film I've seen outside of the Joker, the first Wonder Woman movie, and Aquaman. The one comedic scene that actually landed was the scene where Barry tries to, after past Barry gets his powers, present Barry tries to speed run, and he can't. But the reason the comedy hits right is because the comedy made sense for the scene. Obviously, Barry would try to speed run, and to find out he couldn't would probably look exactly like that scene. So it worked. I love the scene where past Barry is figuring out his powers and present Barry is in a panic about it. Okay, so I figured out what the comedy in this movie reminds me of, because it's a very specific style of comedy, and it reminds me of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It reminds me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and there are other parts of it that remind me very much of like old school Warner Brothers cartoons with if you're old enough, you remember like Porky the Pig, and he would come out of the Warner Brothers logo, and they would have the goofy music playing. That's kind of what the style of comedy reminds me of, which is a horrible idea. I don't know whose idea was that. Okay, why is Ezra naked? Like, we see ass in everything. I really feel like someone in Warner Brothers camp had a thing for Ezra, and that's why he got this role, but that's a whole other topic we will not get into in this video. Okay, so the suit coming out of the ring like a baby was cute and funny, but again, the baby thing. What's with the babies? And was this supposed to be like a rated R movie or something? This movie would have been so much better if they would have cut out all of the stupid music, action montages, and unnecessary comedy. And why did past timeline Bruce attack them for like no reason? He ends up on his ass, and then he's making dinner for them. Totally pointless. And when did Bruce become a theoretical scientist? I thought Bruce was a rich tech guy, but in this timeline, he knows more about time travel than Barry. Okay. The one thing I can say about the plot is that I didn't like that it basically follows the same plot as the Justice League. How has no one pointed this out yet? A superhero sets out on a mission to get together all other superheroes who would make up the Justice League because some big bad threat. And when Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and then you spend the first hour just following them around trying to collect these superheroes to get a team together, or in the case of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the first 3 hours so they can gather these superheroes to join the fight. It's the Justice League all over again. Serious Barry telling past Barry off, telling him he's not funny, is such a fourth wall moment. And yes, so Warner Brothers didn't completely have their head up their asses when it came to DCEU Barry. I think they heard us when we told them Justice League Barry wasn't funny and terribly obnoxious, and they acknowledged it in this movie, and I absolutely love it. And they changed present Barry to they listened to us for once. Warner Brothers listened to us. Okay, I liked, and this is gonna fall flat for some people because I've seen a lot of reviews before I watched the movie, and I remember so many people talking about this moment, but I like the "yeah, I'm Batman" moment in the movie. I don't know why everyone was ragging on it, and Michael Keaton was my favorite Batman, so it just bring back nostalgia. I liked Batman in this. And the only criticism I have with the other superheroes in the Flash movie is in this Flash movie is the same one I have with the TV show. For some reason, DC doesn't like to make TV or movies that focus on one hero. For whatever reason, we have to get a whole team of superheroes. This is a Flash movie, but it really isn't. It's more of an alternative Justice League superhero movie. Yeah, Michael Keaton's Batman is still my favorite Batman. Well, outside of Lego Batman. Lego Batman is the best Batman ever. Fight me. I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but I have to say I'm not a huge fan of all of the sexually inappropriate jokes Barry Allen's telling. I'm just not a fan of it. You gotta have like the goofy kitty personality and the goofy old school Warner Brothers Who Framed Roger Rabbit style comedy, and then you have all these sexually inappropriate jokes on top of it. It's a weird place for a movie to sit. The Supergirl rescue was super entertaining. I really like that. While for some reason the Supergirl CGI during the rescue fight looks super fake. Like, they did a far better job with Supergirl in the CW TV series. Like, I don't understand how a TV series has better CGI than a multi-million dollar blockbuster movie. I love the way that they showed Kara fighting on the TV show, and because it always looked really good. Why does past Barry and Kara have the same hairstylist? And again, with the babies, what is with the babies? Oh my God, has anyone mentioned how fake Kara looks? Like, she seriously looks 100% CGI in this movie. What the hell? There was this big to-do about a damn mustache that I still don't see what everybody was talking about, but no one's talking about the CGI Kara in this movie. People were upset about the removal of a CGI removal of a mustache, and they just literally CGI'd a whole goddamn person in this movie. So they made that Frankenstein machine to get past Barry back his powers pretty damn quick. Maybe there should have been some conversation, or a little bit more conversation about that. That seemed like a pretty quick fix in the movie. And since when does being electrocuted give you powers? There were other elements involved with Barry getting metahuman powers, not just being directly electrocuted. And why and how did Kara know what they were trying to do and just like jump right in and she did it? They didn't tell her anything. Okay, it might be my age showing, but all of the Keaton iconic catchphrases made me very happy watching this. Okay, so past Barry's reaction when Kara destroyed the missile and the bat plane, I don't know what you call it, when the bat plane flew into like the explosion. So Kara, destroys the missile, and then the bat plane flies through it. past Barry's reaction was so mean. I would have reacted the exact same way. Once present Barry starts putting past Barry in his place, and past Barry stops being so unfunny and obnoxious, the humor actually started to land better, mainly because present Barry became much more serious and cynical to past Barry's lightheartedness, and it worked really well because present Barry's reaction to past Barry's humor was very much how I imagined the audience will react, and I know I would have reacted to all that childish behavior. The Krypton CGI was absolutely awful. Like, the CGI that they used for all the Kryptonians was insanely bad. I loved Kara beating the living shit out of Zod when she found out what happened to Kal-El. That was a boss scene when she just eye blasted him. What is that called? When she was pissed. My favorite scene in the movie so far. I love the final battle. A battle scene that was done really well. That whole battle scene was done really well. I love how they show all the different versions of the timeline and they all end up being the same. And then the end was, so at the end, we're at the end of the movie now, and I can say that this level of sadness was what the TV show had prepared me for 9 years. It was what my heart was looking for when it came to The Flash. There was a lot going on with all the different alternate versions of the Supermans and the different worlds that I don't know why people really didn't like this, because I remember, like I said, watching the reviews of the movie and everybody talked about this scene, but I thought it was a pretty good part of the movie. So what the movie suffers from, this movie suffers from the same thing the TV show does. Endless loop of unexplainable paradoxes. But again, it is something the TV show has prepared me for, or been preparing me for the better part of 9 years. So I'm comfortable with it. But what I'm questioning is how past future Barry kills past Barry and destroys that version of himself in the future past future, but that doesn't also kill present Barry. Someone who is well versed in time travel and paradoxes, please explain that to me. And of course, Iris magically shows up again. I think they wanted to develop their love story, but this movie was already over 2 hours long, and they needed to cut all of the important Barry Iris scenes out because the movie was already just too long, so they couldn't really develop this relationship. They really didn't need to put Iris in this movie. They really didn't. It's clear a bunch of cut scenes between them, and it just, every time they pop up with each other, just is where did that come from? Okay, so that's me talking through the movie and my thoughts, important thoughts that I had through the movie. But all in all, this was a good movie, and I definitely would have seen it in the theaters. It was entertaining, but to say it's the best comic book movie ever was a stretch. It was definitely worth the dollars. I don't think that it deserved to be the lowest performing DCEU movie out of all of them, but people were expecting too much based on what Warner Brothers put out. Warner Brothers should have just let the movie speak for itself. And of course, the negative attention that was surrounding Ezra was hard to overcome. Maybe they could have waited until the drama blew over a bit before putting out the movie. And then of course, I just think people also are just fatigued when it comes to DCEU and Zack Snyder. I think everybody just wanted a break at this point. So the movie suffered from all of those external factors, because the movie itself was actually very entertaining, and it definitely was worth going to see in the theaters. I actually want a second movie, but now we know that won't happen. So we'll see what James Gunn does with the reboot. And Ezra actually did a good job. I don't want to say it, but I believe his version of Barry, and on that note, I stand corrected. So yeah, all in all, the movie is not terrible. It really is not. I don't know what people are talking about. I think they were just jumping on a bandwagon, because if you see the movie, it's no worse off. Like I said, it's right up there with the first Wonder Woman movie and Aquaman and the movies that actually did perform really, really well for DCEU. So it definitely was worth people's money to go see it in the theaters. So if you happen to watch my review, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, because like I said, I'll go through the movie. So if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, then if this compels you to actually watch it, then good, because I do think it's worth your time. As much time as you give into any other comic book movie, it wasn't bad at all. And Ezra sold me as he sold me as Barry Allen, which is probably the hardest, because I didn't really think the movie was going to be horrible, but selling me on Ezra Miller as an actor, because I've never thought he was a particularly good actor, and we all felt the same way about his Barry Allen from the Justice League movie and stuff. We were not a fan of it, but that was years and years and years they had time to develop that version of Barry Allen. I think they did a really good job of it with this movie, and that was probably the most shocking aspect of me actually liking Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, specifically seeing that I am such a Grant Gustin fan and wanted that version of him playing Barry Allen, and that version of Barry Allen to be in the movie. So kudos to Ezra for that. But all in all, it was a good movie. It was very entertaining. So, okay, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, positive feedback, and comments. Become part of the Go community. We can talk about nerd stuff together. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.